Name is Michelle Diglio Ben-Karan, and I am here with my son, Enzo Ben-Karan. Enzo is a second-year law student, and Enzo's got a lot of questions for me. Enzo has always been inquisitive as a child, and ever since he went to law school, that inquisitiveness has gotten grossly exponential. So he's got a lot of questions today about the sale of a business. So my husband owns a roofing company called Hilo Roofing, and my son would like to buy it. So what questions do you have for me?
I'm glad you asked.
Mhm.
First question I got to
Mhm.
ask: do you represent my father in
No,
this
no,
matter?
no, don't represent anybody.
Okay, good. So I might take you as counsel, so you don't do
Okay,
anything
oh,
over
thank
there.
you, thank you.
So just want to understand a few things. So
Mhm,
I'm looking at the business right now, running the numbers on the book. It looks profitable. It looks good.
mhm,
And I just want to make sure that when I get in there, I don't have any issues. So I just want
mhm.
to understand, like, if I'm gonna buy that out, what type of thing am I looking for? Like, how do I go about this?
So I think the first thing that you need to do is decide whether you want to do an asset sale or you want to do a stock sale. And
Okay.
they're still mechanically the business conveys and you will have sole ownership, but they're different in nature. And let me explain to you the difference. So a stock sale is basically and if it's a corporation, it'd be a stock sale. If it's an LLC, which your father's company is an LLC, it would be a membership interest sale. So you would buy his interest in the company. The company would stay the same. The federal identification number, everything would stay the same. Nothing would convey.
Okay.
In an asset sale, you would formulate your own company, and Hilo Roofing would sell Enzo's Roofing its assets, and those assets would be conveyed. So what would the assets be? Trucks, roof tiles, whatever it is. They would be conveyed via a contract and a subsequent bill of sale from Hilo Roofing to Enzo's Roofing.
So that's essentially rebranding it?
So no, it's not rebranding it, because Enzo's Roofing would file a DBA and be Hilo Roofing. So to the general public, they would still see the Hilo Roofing. You would have the
But it's
rights
really
to,
run by me.
yeah, it's really owned by Enzo's Roofing. So there's advantages and disadvantages to a stock sale. Most sellers like stock sale because they're selling their stock, and their taxation is much lower
For stock sale.
for a stock sale.
Okay.
Buyers, it's typically not good because you inherit all the liability of whatever's popped up in that company. You're stepping in the shoes of the owner.
Okay.
And so, it's not really recommended for people that insist, and sellers. There's some sellers that say, I'm just going to do a, stock sale or a membership interest sale. And because it's dangerous, because you're stepping in the shoes of of the prior owner, there's typically the seller would give you, your father in this case, would give you an indemnification agreement that would basically say that, look, if anything, any lawsuits, any claims, anything that's happened with you, my prior ownership and operation of the business, if that affects you, I'm going to indemnify and hold you harmless. I'm going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. So that's a component. The asset sale is something that you would be more advantageous for you in this type of scenario, because you start all over. You start with an empty slate. There's no prior liability. You're a
So
brand new
asset with
company.
him.
So yeah. So for you, yeah, I
Just
would recommend an
be
asset sale.
safe.
Yeah, be safe then sorry.
Can't trust anyone.
No, you can trust your
So
father.
okay.
Okay.
So I just
What other questions?
well, back on the theme, can't trust anyone. You want to,
You can
but
trust your father.
my father, but there's a father out there who can't be trusted. And
Well,
I want to
maybe.
help that son or
Okay.
daughter out there
That's nice of you.
figure out their route.
That's so nice of
So,
you.
in terms of, like, I don't want him to leave this business that he's
Mhm.
doing good at and him go up and open shop right next to me and compete, take all his
Your father's
customers,
not
stuff
going to
like.
compete.
Yeah, but people are people. And I just want to know, like, what do you do? Like, how do I make sure he can't do that?
So
Can I make sure of that?
yeah, you can. So in either agreement, whether it's a membership interest sale or a stock sale or it's an asset sale, there's a provision that would be put in there that's called non-compete.
Mm.
And it would say for the next specific number of years within this specific geographical territory, I will not do the same thing that I'm doing now. So in his case, it would be, let's say, the non-compete would say for the next 3 years, I am not going to own, operate, or be involved with in any capacity a roofing company within,
Could I just do that for the rest of
you
his
know,
life, though?
No, you can't do it for the
You
rest of your
can't
life.
block it
No,
out.
no, you can't. Not
3
for,
years
not
seems
not
light.
not for the rest of his life.
Okay.
But you know what? The good thing about non-competes with businesses is the Florida statute has a provision in there specifically for the sale of the businesses, and so they're enforceable. So I don't think that you would need that provision with your dad.
Okay, good.
But for somebody who might need that provision in there, there's a lot of protections in there, and that's definitely something that you want to do when you purchase a business.
So
All right, so
non-competes are good then.
so non-competes are good in this capacity because you're
Great.
giving somebody money, and that person can turn around literally and take your money and recreate their business. So without that, it'd be kind of foolish to not have it in there.
Another interesting thing. So obviously businesses have their own bank accounts and stuff like
Hmm.
that. In Dad's roofing company right now, I'm sure the balance isn't zero. So I'm just curious, does that money stay in there? Does he take all that money out? How does that bank account work with it in association with the business? Like it's funds.
Sure. So in an asset sale, it's his funds. I mean, that's his business. That's the business funds. That's not going to be an asset gets conveyed to Enzo's Roofing. So High-Low Roofing will keep anything that High-Low Roofing has in High-Low Roofing's bank account.
Okay.
In a membership interest sale or a stock sale, then the bank accounts convey, but typically there's an agreement where in most scenarios, and there's an agreement where the owners would either take all that money prior to as a distribution, or they would take a certain amount of that money as a distribution prior to closing, and that would all
Okay.
be in the contract.
Gotcha. And then last question for you, but with Dad's roofing business,
Hmm.
do I also purchase the physical land with which it's on? Do I need to, or am I just purchasing the business itself, like this entity, or am I also purchasing the land or the building around it? I don't know if it's rented or if it's owned or whatever the case, but do I assume that lease then? Like, how does that kind of work when I'm buying that business?
Sure, and that's a good question. So your father doesn't own the land that the business
Okay.
is on. So you would need to assume the lease for where he's at. So
Okay.
there's a commercial lease. So there's two things. You need to look at the current lease and see if it's assumable and if it's assignable. So you would need to get the landlord involved, or you might want to see if the landlord might renegotiate a new lease. Now, your question is really good because had High-Low Roofing owned the land that their office is on, then it would be included within if it was a stock sale or membership interest sale, that is an asset of the company that would convey, but
Okay.
that would be reflected in obviously a higher sale price. If most businesses that have that own the real estate and have a business, they typically have the real estate in a different entity. So although um, you might, let's say I have a business, I own High-Low Roofing. Let's say I own it. I own
Okay.
High-Low Roofing and I also own land. I would not put High-Low Roofing LLC. I would not title the land in that. I might do High-Low Roofing Land Trust or Land Investor. I would do something completely different, although I own both
Why is that?
100%.
Why would you do it
Because
different?
you limit liability. You don't put, you ever hear
Also,
the
you can't go
expression,
after.
well, you ever hear the expression, you don't put all your eggs in one basket?
Yeah.
So if something happens and I get sued, then, I have one big asset. If I have two different companies, then the assets are divided. The monetary value of the assets are not as much. So it's that you can only get what's there. So if I
Okay.
have a lot more there, you can get a lot more.
And I guess follow-up question to that,
Hmm.
kind of off trail slightly, but let's say there was a job that was done that was bad, which I know Dad doesn't do bad
Dad
work.
does very good
He does
work.
great work,
Hmm.
right? But say there was hypothetically a situation with, another father-son out there, and that father did do a bad job, and now the son buys out the business, but
Hmm.
now the person from before, when the father was the owner of the business, they come back onto the scene and they're like, we're going to sue you.
Hmm.
Does the father get sued in that situation, or does the son, because he's now the owner of the business? Does he
Is it
assume that
is it
liability?
an asset sale or is it stock sale /
Break down
membership
both. So, like, if it's a stock sale,
So if it's an asset sale and somebody sued and you're ABC Roofing doing business as Hilo Roofing, and Hilo Roofing gets sued, you know, they don't have the person suing you does not know or is going to be assumed to know that that business has been sold. So they don't really have a cause of action for you because you didn't really own that business at that time. That cause
Okay.
of action would be against Hilo Roofing. However, as we talked about before, there'd be an indemnification clause where Hilo Roofing LLC would indemnify and hold Enzo's Roofing LLC doing business as Hilo Roofing LLC
This is a
harmless.
lot. This is too much. So okay, let me just
So
understand.
you would
In
be
an
okay. You
asset,
would be okay in a stock sale or a
okay.
membership interest sale. Yeah, the company's getting sued, and that indemnification would still you would have an indemnification provision within the stock sale or membership interest agreement where your father would come in and take care of everything
So
because it was had to deal with his ownership and operation of the business.
so let me make sure I understand this.
Okay.
You're telling me that
Regurgitate.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
because there's a lot of words.
Okay.
Indemnify.
Okay.
Um,
But you're used to that because you
I
went through
may be.
contracts 1 and 2 in law school.
Yeah, I may be, but some people out there, I want you guys to understand kind of a little breakdown of this. So,
Okay.
in essence,
Mhm.
if Hilo Roofing gets sued now,
Mhm.
right, for something that was done in the past when it wasn't under my ownership, then I'm still going to be a party. Like I'm going to be the one getting sued. But you're saying that's for the stalker asset. You clarify that at the end, but there's two situations. One where I'm definitely getting sued,
In the
but
yeah.
in the
No. In the membership interest sale, you're
the
definitely
membership.
getting sued.
Okay, I'm gonna get sued, but whatever money I end up, if I lose that lawsuit, I owe $1 million. I'm indemnifying my dad. And
No, Dad's indemnifying you because part
so
of the
dad's
sale,
getting sued, or I'm getting sued.
the company's getting sued. But if you have a
Okay.
massive loss because of something your father did in the contract that you originally signed with your
Oh, he'll
father,
get sued.
no, the company gets sued. Let's say you
Okay.
get sued and the company has a judgment and there's $1 million in the bank, right? And the judgment creditor was successful at getting the $1 million and you had nothing to do with it. You just did a membership interest sale, bought Hilo Roofing,
Okay.
and you're like, okay, this is not fair. Well, in your contract that you had with your father, there was an indemnification clause. That means that in that indemnification clause, your father promised you that if anything ever happens from anything that occurred with his ownership and operation of the business, he would make you whole. He would indemnify you. That means your father would have to come up with $1 million in
Yeah,
that
that's what I
scenario
just.
and give it to you.
Yeah, so I mean, Hilo
you're-
Roofing's getting sued.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's gonna pay it.
No, Hilo
Essentially.
Roofing would get hit. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the mechanics of it. He could intervene and cut the check directly if he had it. If
Simple,
he had
simple
it.
terms.
Mhm.
Hilo gets sued. I'm not paying. Hilo's not paying. Dad's paying because of that contract.
Hilo would be obligated to pay, and
Or they
Dad would
pay
be
and Dad
obligated.
pays Hilo. But
Correct.
I'm talking just a simple overall.
That's simple overall. The judgment creditor.
So
would
I
go to
pay
Hilo.
them. He pays me. So I'm
Yes.
net nothing happens to me.
Correct.
He's out $1 million.
In the
They gain $1
in
million.
the perfect world.
Okay. Simple terms. Good. And then what about the stock sale though?
That was the stock sale.
What about the asset sale then?
The asset sale would be, your defense would be, this is not my business. You're suing the wrong business, et cetera, et cetera. It's Hilo Roofing LLC.
And does Hilo exist anymore? At that
Well,
point, so to
hopefully
speak?
Hilo exists. I mean, it depends if he changed his name and is doing something else now. I don't know. If it doesn't exist, then the person's, they've got to see if there's other means for making them whole, and it just depends on the circumstances. There could be, but I think looking at it from a 300,000 feet up perspective, without going down bunny trails, I mean,
Well-
it would end with that.
Well, to all the father and sons out there who are in a similar situation,
And
or
have a roofing business.
here's what I've gathered from the
So
situation.
hold on, why do you want to buy a roofing company if you're in law school? Because
I'm-
I thought you wanted to do what your mother does.
No, I do. I'm in law school right now. hoping to become an attorney one
will.
day. But
Why do you want to buy a roofing company?
I think just like we've talked about,
You
in
wanna be
prior discussion,
entrepreneurial?
we're trying to diversify the assets. As you said with the land trade, you don't put all your
Diversify
eggs in one
No, you don't.
basket.
No, you don't.
So I got a couple eggs I want to put
Mhm.
over there. But here's what I'm saying to all those father and sons out there to maybe give a little, word of advice. This is complicated and I'm in law school and this is a lot, right? These are big words being thrown around. I think that's what requires not just an attorney, a good attorney to take care of all these things for you, maybe break them down and have the time to spend with you. I believe that's something we do over here.
That's true. We do.
But with all that being said, I thank you for answering some of these questions. It's gonna help me, pursue these big business adventures and acquisition, as we like to say.
And negotiate with your father.
Yes.
And negotiate with your father to buy high-low
Yes,
roofing.
but now that I'm represented by my mother. I think I'll have her do the negotiations. They can't talk to me. He can't talk to me directly now, so that should be interesting at family dinners.
Oh God.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Well, yeah. So the moral of the story is if you're interested in buying and purchasing a business, be it an asset sale, a stock sale, a membership interest sale, the most important thing I want to leave you with is whatever you put into that original contract. I think the original contract is the most important document that you'll sign because everything from that springs to it. Don't do it yourself. We see a lot of people that have done crazy transactions because they didn't, and these people have money. They just didn't want to spend their money on an attorney to do it right. And then they come to us with the worst problems and the worst situations with agreements that they pulled down from the internet and just things that shouldn't be in there are in there and things that needed to be in there or not in there. Spend the money now. I mean, it's worth the protection. It will greatly outweigh the cost of litigation for not doing that later. Get yourself a good attorney, a good business attorney that would help and guide you through this process and do whatever it is to protect your interests so that if something does go wrong, and it typically there's a good chance that it will, something go wrong, that you're protected and things are well thought out and planned
But not with me and Dad.
but
Nothing's
not
gonna go
not
wrong
with not
here.
with my son and his
So
husband.
I can pull off the contract off the internet then, or maybe we don't
No,
need
he
to
can't
have.
pull the contract off the internet. No.
Oh, so you're
We'll have a
gonna take
discussion
care
with
of
this
everything.
later. We'll
Okay.
have a discussion.
Gotcha.
We'll do that discussion.
Good.
But anyway, if you have any questions about that, I've been practicing law for over 25 years. The other attorneys over here have a lot of experience in these areas, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So if you have questions, we have answers. Call legal counsel.